Okay. I believe. Yep, we're live. Part two.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're back with Threat's faulty phone.
Yeah, faulty charger. Sorry, I can't see nobody.
It's all good. It's audio only this time, but that's the best way
That's,
so we can keep him on here with his whole 2%. It's all
yeah,
good.
of course.
It's what we do.
But
We
we
should
make it happen.
we
We
should
improvise.
rename this the Technical Difficulty Podcast.
Nope,
All right, so
not at all.
where we left off um, was close to the end. We were at the part where it says, "Who's that lurking in the shadows?" Mr. John Hammond, with his pen in hand, saying, "Sign your name, sign your kingdom over to me, and be known throughout the land." So, what are we thinking about that?
Mm, mm, mm. That's a pretty deep one because I don't know. I don't know where Prince is going with this song, but it's pretty deep. It's very biblical from what I'm getting from it. Because when we get to thinking about Esau, Jacob, and the birthrights, Esau had inherited the blessings of God, you know, in the according to the scriptures. And Jacob asked Esau to sell him his birthrights, and he sold it to him. And even when it came down for God to be tempted on his fast, and the devil said that if you jump whatever, then everything that you can see is yours.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So in the identity, the theft of identity, um, even when we're bringing people here in America, our identity as Black people has been stripped away from us, so we don't know who we are, and we're known throughout the nation. But in regards to how we're known, it's like all bad, basically. We're
Yeah.
known by slavery.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Which is sad in itself. Black people are known not by the great things that we do, but how long we've been in slavery and how how we've endured slavery up until this point. That's sad.
Yeah, that's one of the more significant things that people that probably come to mind when they think of Black folks and Black history. The most
Mm-hmm.
significant when they think of Black history, because that's the most significant thing of our history.
Yep.
Unfortunately, because I mean, well, I won't say that's the most significant, but it's the most prominent thing.
Yeah.
It sticks out the most because it was such a bad thing that happened, and it defines so much of where things went for us going forward from that point. Because who knows how things would have turned out for Black folks had slavery never happened. But
Yep.
it defined our future, from that point
Mm-hmm.
on. So, but then going back to what we were saying back in part one about the history books and how things are not accurate,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
not only not accurate, but I don't even know if they really teach history like they used to. So there's not even there's not the worry about accuracy anymore. It's just the worry about not even teaching it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's true.
you don't even have a little bit of it being taught, and the little bit that is being taught is not true, and
Mm-hmm.
it's twisted, and it's leaving out a lot of big chunks of stuff that they just don't want in there because they don't want certain depictions of black people or Native American people or anybody that's not white. And the white,
And what is that? Don't nobody want to hold their responsibility?
right, right, nobody wants to take the weight.
Ain't that what he said?
Nobody wants to take the weight and the
Yeah.
responsibility. Exactly. So they paint a certain picture um, of white people, and like you were talking about presidents and politicians, and you know as being these great leaders and doing these great things, but really they only did certain things, like we were saying about Lincoln, because
Mm-hmm.
it looked good, and
Yeah.
it was kind of like, well, it's kind of the thing to do right now because it'll make me
Mm-hmm.
look good. It wasn't for the betterment of the people. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting a little bit off point, but that's what it comes down to. The history books, what's left of them, are not accurate, and the it's just it's not a fair situation because people. I was just seeing a video on, I don't know if it was Facebook or somewhere online the other day, where this kid he was probably in high school, was really
Mm-hmm.
angry about how he was learning stuff that he'd never even been told in school.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about that too, how Prince had talked about, just tell me what happened and I'll run with that, you know.
Yeah. Let me put my pieces together.
Right. But this kid was like, I never even knew about this stuff. Like nobody ever even remotely touched on these topics. I had no idea. They're not even teaching this stuff anymore. And when people get so up in arms about like them taking down the statue of Columbus and people like that, if people really stopped and understood things about Columbus and what he really did and what he really stood for, then they would understand why people want that statue taken down. That there's the lack of understanding, and that's what I think the problem is. If there was the accuracy in these history books that do exist, and
Right.
the willingness of people to learn and actually do some research and find out what really was going on all these years. We were talking about that too in part one. Take the responsibility of doing your research and understanding what's really going on instead of just taking what people have told you and what's been written in a book for gospel.
Yeah. I agree. 100%. And and even bear the weight of, now that everybody know that history that you do teach in school is fabricated, instead of not talking about it, just start talking about the truth.
Right. Right.
They don't want that avalanche to start flowing because they'll be guilty as hell. That's why they don't do it.
Yep. Yep.
Because people will get a chance to truly see that avalanche for what it really is, and who are the creators and formers of the avalanche.
Yep.
So I wouldn't want to bear that responsibility either. I'd be like, dang, I just look like a bad person. I look like a bad person. I look like a bad generation. I look like a bad race. And I look like my people is the ones that caused everything to be where it's at. And it's like, well, that's history. That is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So weird.
Yep. So, back to this lyric, Mr. John Hammond with his pen in hand saying, "Sign your kingdom over to me and be known throughout the land." So if you sign your kingdom over and be known throughout the land, I mean, you're signing over everything that you own, everything that you have, for a little bit of notoriety. And we've talked about that too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Um, the next line then says, "But you ain't got no money, you ain't got no cash, so you sign your name, and he claims innocence, just like every snowflake in the Avalanche."
Mm. That's what
So,
I'm saying right there. Just like every snowflake in the avalanche wants to claim innocence. Every snowflake in the avalanche do not want to admit the guilt of its avalanche upon people.
right.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They do, and it goes back to accepting accepting that responsibility, or why is there even an avalanche occurring? Why is there snow dropping on Wounded Hill in that war? Why is there even snow here? Type of thing. And it's a heavy situation. It's a heavy burden to bear.
Mm-hmm.
Racism is a heavy burden to bear, especially when a person figure out how they're considered guilty in the structure of racism.
Yep.
Nobody wants to wear that.
And that's a good analogy that he used as far as avalanche and snowflakes, because each individual snowflake is not going to cause harm to anybody or anything or whatever. But you
Right.
put all those snowflakes together and it's a catastrophe.
Yeah,
So,
it's gonna slide and tear up stuff and destroy everything in its path, or
so
cover it up.
yeah,
Just cover it up. That's crazy.
right. Yeah,
Damn, it's
and bury
crazy.
bury it.
Yeah, bury it, literally.
So,
You know?
um, I mean that this part here, signing your kingdom over, being known throughout the land, but you're left with no money. You don't have any cash. You sign your name over, and then you're stuck. And that's you basically the been the story of many a black person for a long time. They get caught up in this web where they're trying to get ahead, or they get
Right.
caught up somehow, thinking that um, they're trying to do better for themselves and their family or whatever, and they end up losing everything and end up with no money and nothing, and being promised something, but they never get that.
Yep.
They're being promised
Ever.
however many acres and a mule, right? And then they don't ever get that, and they never get any kind of pay for what the work that they've done, or anything that they have had that they've sold or signed over, or nothing. And then back to who they signed it over to, they don't take any responsibility because they're just one snowflake in that avalanche. So, you know, it's a vicious cycle, but unfortunately, it's still going on, and it's something that doesn't look the same as it used to, but it's still a problem and it's still happening.
For real. Literally still happening. And and the people that are in the political positions, the powerful positions, they do not want to see it get better, because uh, they're a lot of the presidents are no different than Abraham Lincoln. You know, they're all been white presidents up until, Barack Obama. Have all been white presidents.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone that did have the intent, the audacity to want to be supportive of black people, like John F. Kennedy,
Mm-hmm.
he was killed, even though Abraham Lincoln was supposedly assassinated as well. It's just a lot of hidden agenda and people doing stuff because they want the props, just like Black Lives Matter. Corporations want to put Black Lives Matter in their mission statement all of a sudden, so that Black people see that, oh, they're supportive of it. No, they're doing that because it's the time to be a part of that, to be acknowledged as a person that do care, quote unquote. And they really don't.
Well, I seen somebody I forget her name, Amanda. I have to look and find her name. I'm bad with that, but she's known on Instagram anyway. She was explaining that how a lot of people are coming out and in quote unquote support of Black people, and whether it be companies or individuals or actors and actresses and all these people, right? And they're talking about how they take responsibility and they, are in support of Black folks and their struggle and their fight and all that. And that's all well and good that you say that. But the thing that needs to happen is that you show it.
Yeah.
And I understand people wanting to say it and wanting to say it so that they're showing their support that way. But my thing is, you shouldn't have to say it.
Right. Why? Yeah, right.
If you've been in support of Black folks all along, then you shouldn't have to say it. If there's no guilt there, then you shouldn't have to say it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy to me that I go on some website or go to some app and the first thing that pops up is how they're in support of Black people and the Black Lives Matter movement and I'm like, okay, well that's cool. But my thing is, like, it's weird to me to see that, because you've never ever seen so many companies or individuals feel so obligated to say to one race
of people,
we support you, we are behind you.
These people,
right? Like, oh, all of a sudden y'all are so behind us that you feel so obligated to say something. But the obligation is only there because if you don't, then there's backlash, and that's not right either. I don't feel like if somebody doesn't post that message on their website, I'm not going to be mad at them.
Right. Honestly.
Because why would I? Because I think it's weird that if I go to a site and I see that message is there. People were upset when, for example, when Starbucks had said that they weren't going to allow their employees to wear anything that had to do with Black Lives Matter or whatever. And I think the reason that they did that, if I'm understanding it correctly, is because they didn't want anything political as far as what their employees were wearing.
Right.
People went and flew off the handle because they're like, well, they'll allow their employees to support the LGBTQ community and all this stuff, but they won't let them support the Black community. And I'm thinking, I don't think that's what they're saying, though. That's not what I got from that.
Right.
I was getting that they didn't want there to be a political situation. But at the same time, I can see both sides of that. But I wasn't upset about it either way.
Right.
You know, like th- like I said, same thing about pulling up an app on my phone and seeing this long message about how there's support, because I just don't necessarily need to see that. If anything, just instead of taking the time to write that message and post it up on your stuff, why not just meet with your team and figure out how you can support the black community some other way besides just posting a message. You know, like,
Yeah, because you can't.
right,
Yeah.
because that message isn't going to do anything. You just by you telling us that you support us, that's all well and good, but you can support us without saying so. You could just go do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Right.
don't know if that's coming off clear. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I just feel like it's weird to me to see that, because we're going to see it for a short amount of time and then it's going to go away. And then we're going to be left wondering, well, what was really done? Because at the end of the day, how much is really going to change?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like it's hyped up right now because of all the stuff that's happening. And, you know, that's how things happen. But
Hmm.
it's a really
And that's
weird.
why we was free. That's why we was free.
Right.
The quarter. A
Right.
lot of hype behind it. A lot of energy came behind that concept. As us as black people still. So even then, Black Lives Matter was a movement. Clearly, because it brought the attention to people to say, oh, we need to do something about this.
Right. And I get, like I said, I get it. I get everybody wanting to stand behind and do that. But if you're going to do that, then, you know, show up to a protest or show up to a rally, or, you know, find some way that you can actually try to make a difference. If you feel like voting is going to do that, then go vote. If you feel like writing a letter to your representatives, or you know,
Yeah.
whatever it is that
Yeah.
you feel like you can do, then do that. But don't write a letter and post it and say we're behind you, Black Lives Matter, what, you know, whatever it is message that you want to put on your social media or whatever, and then don't do anything. Because
Right.
that to me, as a black person, to see that across the board and to see all these people saying all this stuff across the board, it looks really weird to me that we've now been put in this box where it's like, oh, black people, we support you. that's what
Yeah.
that's what it
Yeah.
looks like to me, and it's just really
Like
strange.
we're disabled people. Like we're
Right,
not saying it's wrong with special needs, but we fall into the category because there is a category of special needs.
right, right,
We're placed in that predicament. And only because of that is why a person like Abraham Lincoln feel that, okay, let's free him. Only because you're getting so much backlash by the way we're being treated. And so the collectives come together to do that kumbaya moment.
mm-hmm,
And then we're pushed into history, but still known as slaves or people in oppression.
right.
Still.
So let me be clear though. I'm loving the fact that so many white folks have shown up though. I'm loving that, because I'm seeing that there's a lot of white folks that are standing up and saying things and going public and making it clear that they're not standing for the BS, and I'm all for that. So thank y'all for that though. That's really cool to see.
100%. 100%. I agree.
Yeah. Because that is what we need. We do need that. We need the voices. If you have a platform and you have, even if you don't have a big platform, even there's a video. I have been seeing a lot of videos going around, because y'all know the social media has been blowing up with this stuff. There was a young girl. She's probably in high school. She's challenging her parents on these racist cops, and her parents were 100% like against black folks. They weren't. I won't go as far as calling them racist, but they were walking the line. No, they were racist. I'll just go ahead and say they were, because her dad started off basically telling her to shut up because he didn't want to hear what she had
Right.
to say, and he was basically saying that the black folks that are getting shot by the police are bringing it on themselves because they're look at the way they're living. They're in the ghetto and they're, you know, they're challenging the police and they're fighting and they're doing all this stuff. Okay, and then he finally walked away from the conversation, and her mom comes in and she tries to make the same point about how, well, all these black folks look at the way that they're living, and so she tried to throw some statistics at her daughter, and talked about how more white people are killed by police than black people. And so her daughter rebutted her real quick. She's like, that's because there's more white people than there are black people. She gave her the
Right.
numbers and everything. She was on top of it. So I was like, oh, see now that's a young white girl who, despite the way her parents think, she's thinking outside the box. She's looking at the situation for what it really is, and she's doing her research. And that's really cool to see, because another thing, like Princess said, and a lot of us keep saying, it's in the hands of the youth to do better and to change the way things are going right now. And so to see a young white person who's thinking like that and who's willing to challenge the people who are bringing her up because they're thinking very
Right.
close minded, that was really cool. So, yeah.
No, 100%.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was the end of the song. The last verse is the chorus. The like the snow coming down the mountain that landed on wounded knee. Nobody wants to take the weight, the responsibility, and like that young woman's parents, they didn't want to take the responsibility. All the responsibility gets to be pushed off on the quote unquote, like her mom said, ghetto black people who,
Yeah.
it always has to be the victim's fault. And I'm not saying that all black folks are innocent when
Right.
situations happen. Just like all white folks aren't guilty, but you just
Right.
have to look at the situations for what they are. And when it comes down to it, um, it really comes down to fair treatment. And with these
Yep.
police shootings and things like that, it comes down to fair treatment. When you see a situation, um, for example, like Rayshard Brooks, now he shouldn't have fought and he shouldn't have struggled and he shouldn't have run and taken the taser and all that. I don't agree that he should have done that. But then there's another video floating around of a white guy, who fought, struggled, took the taser, ran away from the cop, chased the
Yeah.
cop, got in the car, tried to run over the
Safety.
cop, did all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
and never got shot.
Yeah.
It comes down to fair treatment. If
Very
if you
much.
can look at the situation and say, well, if he was white, he'd have got away with that. If he was black, he'd have got shot. That's why this is an issue. And that's what I got to say about
Because you can
that.
almost see it. Yeah, because it's almost you can see the pattern
Yeah,
of what the outcome could potentially be.
always. Yep. So I said what I said. You got anything else to
And I
say?
and I and, I, and I'm in cahoots with it.
You're in cahoots with it. All right.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
All right. Well, I think that sums up our first live podcast.
Interesting. The first live. Next time it'll be better because I have. Hopefully, we'll be out of this circumstance. But if not, I'll be better because I'll make sure that my phone is fully charged.
We're going to figure it out. That's what we keep on doing.
Yeah.
one way or another.
Because Clay's been dancing between 1% and 2% right now this whole time. Literally got that purple energy in here. I'm telling you, that's what kept it going.
Yeah, well, that's what we do.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Keep
Well,
the surge going.
we're gonna keep the energy going and try to figure out what to do for next week. Whether it be get him a new charger or something. But yeah.
Right.
But yeah. So we're gonna wrap this one up. Avalanche.
Yes, check it out
If you
if you
haven't
haven't
heard it,
already.
yeah, if you haven't heard it, go check it out. It's on the One Night Alone piano and a mic. Not piano and a mic, I'm sorry. One Night Alone piano CD from 2002. Go look that up. It's a good CD. I love that CD. The whole CD is good, but Avalanche, this is one of those controversial songs that Prince was not afraid to put out there. So, and don't be fooled. It's a ballad, but he still put it out there. He didn't
You
care.
sure did.
So this is Dorothy Anthony for Purple Style Productions.
Fred Brown, CMCC The Movement.
And if you want any music from artists from the NPG or any merch, go to www.officialrecordstore.com. Until next week, we will talk to y'all then. Peace.
Subscribe to Princeology.
Oh yeah, subscribe to Princeology. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can get all those views up, and then subscribe on Facebook, Instagram. I think that's all, right? We're not on Twitter, are we?
No.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Princeology Podcast. You'll find us everywhere. Peace.
All right, I'm done.